Welcome to Mike Ferry TV. It is, of course, week number 6 in our 100 plus prospecting lead follow-up, and most importantly, the challenge we've presented each one of you. It's the week of November 5 through 11. Interestingly enough, we have had over 9,000 plus, up to 15,000 people watching this program each week. That's a lot of viewers. There's a lot of interest, obviously, in what we're saying in terms of prospecting lead follow-up. But of the 9,000 we've averaged, interestingly enough, we've only had 900 people actually sign up for the challenge. So my question, of course, is why would you not sign up for something that's going to lead you to more productivity, more listings, more sales, more income, a better lifestyle, and obviously a better business? Well, of course, the answer to that is we're independent contractors. We don't have to do anything that we're told. But the really good news is we have at least an average of 9,000 interested participants. Now we need to have more people actually participating on a regular basis. We've reviewed up to date 35 of the thoughts on prospecting lead follow-up. And as you know, you have to be registered to actually win 3 months of our what we call Mornings with Mike coaching that I do for several hundred people each week. If you're not registered, do it now. You can click right on to the link next to the video box and go ahead. And oh, by the way, did you log your numbers last week? You know, one of the challenges every real estate person faces is accountability. And we are challenged by that because, you know, we go into the business with the concept or aspect of the freedom that this business offers us, and it offers a lot of freedom. You and I both know that. I mean, technically, nobody is watching you most of the time. If this camera were reversed and I was watching each of you every week, virtually 7, 8, 9 hours a day, the pressure, the intensity of what you do would increase and you become more productive. That would be high intensity accountability. Big Brother is watching you. In this case, Big Mike is watching you. Well, if you think about it very carefully, the advantage we have of real estate is nobody's watching us most of the time. This is a self-starter business. This is a business where each of us individually has to have the courage, the conviction to get up every day and do the job that has to be done. Well, when you think about the fact that we ask you to log your numbers, it's an optional thing in your life. And the reason why most people don't really sit down and really track their numbers is because there's too many days out of every 5 or 6 where they don't do anything. And if they're not doing anything, why would they track 0, 0, 0, 0? 0 hours prospecting, 0 contacts made, 0 leads generated, 0 lead appointments going on. People aren't going to do that because they get discouraged. They don't want to see the reality of the business. So I'm going to suggest to you, if you don't do anything else as part of this great series we're doing for you now, at least take the time to track what you're doing to see if you're getting better or getting worse. So let's start. Let's go to point number 36 in this series. And I've written down, shift your prospecting from important to urgent in your life. Shift your prospecting from important to urgent. Now, obviously, you know the importance of doing deals. You know the importance of taking listings. You know the importance of getting a listing sold, making a sale, getting a paycheck. You understand the importance. But what we don't understand is the urgency that is required to do the prospecting each day, which creates the listings, the sales, listings sold, etc. See, the urgency is where you say to yourself, I got to get this done. I got to get moving right now. In fact, as soon as this is done right now, today, you need to start prospecting again because the urgency is what drives production up. When there's a lack of urgency, there's a lack of production. When there's a lack of urgency, there's always complacency. When there's a lack of urgency, there's never going to be a salesperson where we say to ourselves, that's the kind of guy or gal I want to deal with. So we have to start shifting our thinking from important to urgent. Now watch point 37. This particular point, very involved. There's a lot to it. Take good notes. Re-watch this particular program every day this week to get the maximum use out of this program. It says now we're going to look at 10 things you can do in addition to prospecting for sale by owners, expired listings, cold doors, cold telephones, past clients, referrals to develop more prospects. It's interesting because everybody in real estate wants to pick a particular methodology of doing business. Mike, I just work high end. Mike, I just work first time buyers. Mike, I just work this particular neighborhood. It's the diversity of what you do that not only creates a great salesperson, but builds a large business. Because you see, we know that each of us are not going to become great at 20 methods of prospecting, but you're never going to be great if you have one method of prospecting. So therefore, it's the diversity in what you do that builds the strong business. Technically, each of you should have probably 5 to 7 basic good prospecting techniques because, as you know, everything is cyclical, everything is seasonal. This week and next week, there may be a lot of for sale by owners. 2 weeks from now, there may be none. If you only call on for sale by owners, in 2 weeks, you're out of business. So therefore, the diversity is important. So let's look at 10 ways to develop more prospects. Try any of the following. First, I wrote down, develop a past client on either side of the transaction. Now, let me explain that to you. I have a listing, the listing sells. It closes. You know and I know the odds of the other agent that sold my listing ever doing a great job of follow-up is minimal. Now that that listing is sold and it is closed, I'm going to go back to the person who purchased my listing, introduce myself, and say, listen, if there's anything about the house that you have a question on, feel free to call. I was the listing agent. Anything about the neighborhood you need to know more about. Where's the church? Where's the shopping? Where's the schools? Feel free to call me. I'm going to treat every buyer of my listing as if it was my client because I'm going to then double my potential referral business out of a listing sold. I wrote down, develop a specific referral system. I've said for many, many years, real estate people will get into the habit of calling past clients, centers of influence, and asking for referrals. That's good. Have to do that. But what makes it great is not just asking for referrals. Hi, Mary, it's Mike. Who at your job is talking about buying or selling real estate? Who at your church group is talking about buying or selling real estate? Who at the club you belong to? See, when you ask specific questions, you get specific responses. If I say, who do you know that wants to buy or sell? Their mind is all over the place. If I say, who do you know in your particular category? They have to become specific. But what I'm talking about here is the specifics of you having a strong referral system. How strong is your referral system? How much time do you spend on it? How much time have you spent building it, and how much time do you really spend making it work for you? The third thing I wrote down is develop a very specific past client system. Are you really contacting them by phone 4 times a year? Are 4 times a year you're sending them a good mail piece that reminds them that you're in the real estate business and you can care for, service them, and help them in the future? Are you having 8 good solid contacts a year? That would be a specific past client system. But now watch the next point, because this one can be big for each of you. Now I know that when I say there's 9,000 people watching, or when I say we've had weeks up to 16, in most cases those numbers can be doubled and tripled. Why? Because a lot of great real estate broker customers of ours turn this on once a week in front of a sales meeting, 30, 40 to 50 people. So many times our viewership is sometimes 5, 7, 10 times bigger than what we actually can anticipate or expect. But this next point is something you guys and gals can do if you're watching this in your office. Develop inter-office referrals among the agents you work with. What do I mean by inter-office referrals? Well, watch this. I started doing this 40 years ago. I would go out on a listing presentation, and I knew I wasn't going to get the listing. Now, you've been there, you've done that, you've been on listings where you walk out and say, you know what, it just wasn't a good connection. I'm not going to get the listing. Well, if they're motivated to sell their home, your competition is going to get the listing. So what I would do is I'd go back to the office, hey Larry, hey Maggie, hey Annie, I've got this listing that I want on tonight. I'm not going to get it. Why don't you take that listing, and if you have one you're not going to get, give it to me, and let's keep these listings inside the company. Do you realize that today there's probably going to be a dozen people that would probably have listed with somebody in your company if you'd have tried this particular thought? How about this? You've got leads right now that are never going to buy or sell from you for whatever reason. Distribute those leads inside the office. You got a buyer you showed property to, and it just didn't click. Because let's be honest, we don't click with every personality style that we meet. We should, but we don't. So what do? We take that buyer out, show them property, realize it's not going to work. Then we turn that buyer over to another agent in the office. Mrs. Smith, it's Mike. Thanks for taking the time yesterday to preview property with me. The next 10 days I'm tied up, but Larry in the office has got a couple of properties that I think would really fit your needs. Can I have him give you a call and show you the property? See, we have to take and expand our thinking rather than narrowing our focus. I wrote down, work with the inactive agents in your area for leads. There's agents in your office, unfortunately, agents you know in your marketplace that are inactive. They never do anything. Start working those agents to get the leads because they all have one or two. Remember, the majority of agents only do one or two deals a year. They're on the verge of going out of business. Nobody's told them yet. Well, start working them for their leads. Work the files from agents who have left the company and or left the business. Sit down with your broker. Bob, we know that these 5 agents left in the last year. They've gone out of the business. They each had a couple transactions. Can I adopt those files? Can I service those on behalf of the company so I can make sure that the clients that have bought from us are taken care of properly? I said, do more intense prospecting around other agents' listings and sales. Not within your company, but outside. You're driving a neighborhood, there's a great listing over here, start knocking on doors around that particular listing. Somebody has a sale, knock on doors around that sale. Work the old expireds, 3, 6, 9 months ago. Listen, most of them are still for sale. Most of them still want to sell. Take advantage of it. Then I said, pick any area that has 5 to 10 homes for sale and market yourself heavily in that area. See, one of the hardest parts of being a great real estate person is understanding the market that you work in. Okay, you look at a map of your market, and there's certain areas that are always going to turn over faster than others for whatever reason. Pricing, location, size, condition, age. Well, if you see an area over here where there's 5, 6, 7, 10 listings for sale, I would go in and work that market like crazy because that's a sign there is a lot of activity. And then it says, work your affiliates and your staff more effectively for leads. Great title companies, mortgage companies, escrow companies, all these great affiliates. If you're giving them business, ask for some in return. Let's look at point 38. Remember, the net bottom line, there's 2 ways to build your business. 1, obviously, find new prospects every day. Or 2, get more business from your existing clients. The great agents are doing them both. Now, today's homework assignment, it's building with intensity each week. We're asking a little bit more of you. We're asking you to get a little bit more involved, to become a little bit more efficient, effective. It's a little scary at times because you're getting outside your comfort zone. But I want you to listen carefully. What do I want you to do? Increase your prospecting to 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, calling buy owners expireds, centers of influence, and 20 minimum just phone calls, doors per day. If you can't reach them on the phone, go knock on their door. You've got to find a way to start building momentum. Now, 40 plus years ago, we used to have what we called the Coles directory. Coles, C-O-L-E-S directory. Big book that I would buy about every 90 days, and I would open the book and it would list all the phone numbers of all the people in all the neighborhoods that I was going to prospect in. Well, today, believe it or not, 40 some years later, Coles is still in business out of Omaha, Nebraska. It's called Coles Information Services. I want you to look up them online. I want you to call them because what they do today, for a very minimal fee, they can furnish each of you with as many phone numbers as you want to call virtually for the next year. Because you got to find a way to keep yourself involved and active. Now, reminders, adjust your schedule to reflect an additional hour of prospecting. Keep focused on attitude, approach, and expectation. And since we are now into the holiday season in November and December, you got to keep prospecting, got to keep working, keep building your business. Look forward to talking to you next week.